Hi, my name's Anthony, and today we're going to be going over the Pariah Expansion to see if it's the right expansion for you. Now, fair warning, this is not a spoiler-free overview. I will be going over some of the mechanics and some of the actual story elements that will be going to this. However, I will try my best to not do too many spoilers, so fair warning. First thing to note is that the Pariah is a Node 1 Nemesis monster. This means that it will take the place of the Butcher from the core game. This is what the flowchart looks like if you're ever going to rearrange your campaign. You have Quarry 1, 2, and 3, Nemesis 1, 2, and 3, and then your final bosses of your entire campaign. You can see here that this is an N1, which is a Nemesis 1, which is what you'll be replacing. The Pariah's whole deal is essentially its somatic empathy. Somatic empathy just means that it can kind of manipulate your feelings, and you can kind of see its feelings. You guys are kind of forming a symbiotic relationship with empathy. This is kind of cool story-wise because when you first encounter him, he's killing you, but then you feel bad for him. So it's kind of neat. He essentially is going to start giving you gifts and sticking around, but in all honesty, he's kind of fucking you over. So what does this mean gameplay-wise? This shared insight that both you and the monster have means that you'll be able to take a look at its AI deck whenever you flip it. Originally, when you deal damage to a monster, you'll just take the top card of the AI deck, put it in the wound stack, and you don't get to see what it is. However, whenever you reveal an AI card, whether through an item or through damaging it, you'll be taking some sort of status effect, whether it be a brain damage, or you just get a bleeding token, or just a bunch of bad shit that's going to start happening to you. Now to counteract this, you do have a survivor status called Somatic Static. What this means is that throughout the fight, you'll be getting these moments of emotional independence. And with that independence, whenever you would flip one of these AI cards, you can essentially spend that token to negate its effect, which is pretty neat. Now, if you're not familiar with a Pariah, you might notice that I have two models that look eerily similar in front of me, but are kind of different. That is because at the level 3, the Pariah completely changes its tactics. At level 1 and 2, you fight him just as you would fight any other type of Nemesis monster. You fight him and he gets harder, and then he gets harder, and then harder, and then there you go. But at level 3, the entire battlefield completely changes. He initially now moves to the inverted mountain, where you have to fight him upside down. Now you might have noticed on the hit locations there are actually two different text boxes, one right side up and the other inverted. Whenever you fight him at level 3, you will be using the exact same hit locations, however you will be flipping the cards upside down. These will be doing additional awful things for you and just kind of messing up your entire day, but kind of keeps it super interesting. For example, for his hit location of Bloodstained Cape, he has a reflex of essentially just knocking you back. However, on the inverted side, he rushes up to you and destroys your Piton. Pitons are essentially your anchor points during the showdown. In level 3, the Pariah uses its monstrous strength to scale the ceiling and hang upside down like a bat, and you just have to fight it like that, and your only source of keeping yourself on the mountain is the Pitons. And if he destroys too many Pitons, you can't fight him and you just die. Additionally, if you suffer any type of knockback during the level 3 showdown, you'll be having to roll on a table to determine whether or not you fall off of the inverted mountain and fall to your death. Now the Pariah's not all that bad, right? He comes to your village, starts munching on your people, and then just kind of hangs out. Well, the entire thing with a Pariah is that he's just going to stay in your village constantly until you decide to fight him again with a special showdown. If you do not defeat him at level 1, he will take residence inside of your settlement, and you will have to do the story event Wicked Games until you defeat him once more via a special showdown. Now, some of these story events for Wicked Games just he just messes with you. He takes out your eyes and replaces them with somebody else's eye, or play hide and seek, and you have to accept whether or not to help your fellow survivors, or else they just die. It's kind of insane. Now, like I said, he's going to keep torturing you until you decide to fight him again during a special showdown. Doing so, if you defeat him, great, he won't be able to do Wicked Games again until he hits level 2. Once you fight him again at level 2 and you do not defeat him, you'll have to do Sulking. He's going to just start messing with you in a completely different way unless you start resisting, which typically involves sacrificing somebody, sacrificing your resources, or returning innovations to the innovation deck. So all of this stuff seems pretty damn terrible, so why would you add him to your campaign? Well, he actually has a lot of cool things, including his fighting arts. He's got two fighting arts, one called Free Climb and the other called Inversion. Free Climb just means that you get your fist and tooth proficiency gets refined, and you get the free climb ability. Inversion is essentially whenever you get a token, you can flip it to the opposite token. So if you get a -1 strength, boom, now you get a +1 strength. That's pretty damn badass. He also has 2 secret fighting arts, one being quadradept, meaning you can essentially change your movement and your action to either or. So you can have 2 actions or 2 movements, which is pretty damn cool. The other one is Sacred Code. What this is once per showdown, you can completely knock down everybody. So every survivors and the monsters are all knocked down. That's pretty damn cool. The cool thing is he also brings you gifts, one being implanted memories and the other being precious fragments. This is essentially going to change your story events, so White Secret is going to become Dark Secret, and White Speaker is going to be changed to White Speaker is Dead. You also get 2 new disorders, one's anodemia, I'm not sure how to say that, and the other is codependent. The first one means you're always sane, meaning you can't gain any fighting arts, any secret fighting arts, or any abilities. The second one, codependent, means that you cannot gain any understanding except from the Pariah. Now there's this super unique effect ability, which is called 1-2. If you have 1-2 and you die, you're not dead. You just split into 2 different characters. You get an additional character sheet. You're going to be splitting all their equipment in half, and only one of them can get survival, the other one can get insanity, one knowledge, one understanding, all of that cool stuff. It's an absolute trip. And lastly, the fun stuff is the weapons. Now there are some patterns for this guy, and they're super cool. His whole thing is that he kind of like takes you apart and then puts you back together using like some blood shit. And the weapons are super cool. They're essentially copies of other weapons from the game, but they have a downside. For example, the bow scab is incredibly good at its base stats. However, if you wound a monster, you roll a 1d10, and on a bad roll, you essentially gain 3 bleeding tokens, and then that weapon is done for. Dunzos. So that kind of sucks. Same for the other weapons, such as the knife scab, which is every time you use it, you get a bleeding token. There's always going to be a downside to these guys. So it's kind of interesting. You get these super powerful weapons, but they're going to completely mess you up, or you're going to be completely useless in just a bit. So now that we know all this, is this the right expansion for you? Well, if you're tired of the Butcher, I think this is a pretty damn good alternative. I'm a big fan of it staying in your settlements and just adding extra just kind of pressure on you and just kind of beating you down. I'm a big fan of any type of game or any type of expansion that just makes me feel like complete shit and I'm gonna die and this is hopeless, and this is perfect. It's absolutely badass, and just the fact that on its 3rd event, you can go upside down, it completely changes the entire fight essentially, is super cool. So would I recommend it? I absolutely would, because it is absolutely badass. All the disorders, I really like disorders, and the disorders are super cool. The weapons are super unique, and it's just a really cool expansion in my opinion. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. If you're planning on getting the Pariah, or if you already have the Pariah, what your thoughts are on it. To me, this guy is absolutely badass. The mini is absolutely insane. I can't wait to keep playing with this guy, but I'll catch you guys in the next one.